Hey there, everybody. Shalom to you all. It is our time to study, and I know that I do it on Mondays. I know I took a moment there to come and read again. It's been a while. Funny thing is that I did record yesterday, and it should have been up since yesterday, but like I've admitted before, I'm not a computer person. I'm not, and so I'm still having to remember certain steps that need to happen in order for for me to put my video up. And I know a while back I had to do another retake of reading all over again. With one time I forgot to record my voice. I forgot to put the mic on. I'm blessed to have family out there that are following along with me to study, and they let me know on the side that there was no voice. So, okay, well, I look at those moments as like something, failures help you to grow. It helps you to recall, each step much more better. So that you're more mindful next time so it doesn't happen again. Well, then now, when I was recording yesterday, everything seemed good. And then when you're about to load it to YouTube, and you fill out the steps that you have to do in order to load it up, you wait for your picture to load up, and then of course it brings up two other selections if you don't like the picture that it captured you on before you put it out. And so it was taking such a long time, and my husband has let me know, like, this stuff does happen, it can take a moment. And so I'm there waiting and waiting, and I'm like, this long though? I mean, it's never really done that to me before. So the hubs comes to check, and so then he's like, this is kind of strange. So he's like, let me go check what you did, in the recorded, program. And yeah, there was the mistake. I forgot to push the button that records the face. So the voice is there, my voice is there, but the picture isn't. So, and I thought, well, I told him, is there a way that we could just put a picture and then it'll just be audio, people can just hear my voice? And he was like, yeah, we can do that. And then, but as he's looking through my videos, he's just like, might be a little off, and you might not like it, because he knows sometimes I'm a perfectionist on certain things, and he's like, this might irritate you that all your other videos you're able to be seen, but this one, it's just going to have a picture and just your voice, so you're going to handle that. Well, I was just like, yeah, I already had done that before, where I mistakenly didn't have my audio, and I had to record myself reading one of the chapters before. Sorry, my dog is barking. And so I thought, well, this is no different. I'll go ahead and record it. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I might put both out, just in case, because yesterday I felt like I shared enough, or I shared exactly what Father was leading me to share as I'm, studying along with him in front of you all, of course, but studying alongside you if you're kind of looking at it like that. But of course, whenever you're done recording yourself, and then you've had all these things that he was putting in your mind that like it was fitting for that moment to share it, then you have like these aftermath, like, oh yeah, I could have added this in there, I could have spoken this part, and then, oh yeah, and then this part could have been seen that way. I don't like those things. So here I'm thinking, maybe this is that opportune moment that hopefully those things that I recalled of what I wanted to say, because I was like, well, when I go on to the next chapter, I'll just bring those in, But now here's my moment to just bring them in the chapter I wanted to bring them in. But at the same time, because I felt like I've shared enough, and I don't know if I'll recap everything I shared, um, I might leave both videos out there, so this way, if you want to go and see the insights that I had at that moment and maybe extra nuggets that I don't actually put here, then it's all there. So yeah, I'm thinking I might do that. It's a might though. Hopefully, if I could just recall everything I shared and everything I had wanted to also add in there coming in, then yeah, that video might not be there. But anyways, that's just the thought to put there. So just in sharing also from what I recorded last time, and I'll share it here once again. It took me a while to come. I know that I'm trying to shoot for good organization to where I'm, constant with myself, and I'm trying to get there. Of course, mom life happens, events come in, Father's feast days, and then, just stuff like that kind of takes it. But I am trying to do it exactly weekly of Mondays, with the hopes to add in more days if I can get there. But it took me a moment because my time of the month came, and normally when that hits me, I'm just like, blah, and I don't feel like doing much of anything. My sisters out there can relate, and but yeah, and then at the same time, my husband and I, we had a little situation where we're both at kind of at odds with each other for a moment there, and like Messiah says, or I think it's Messiah who says that that leave your offering at the altar, and then go make peace with your brother, and then come back to do what you're trying to do for Father, because Father doesn't like us to be at odds with each other. He wants us to always try our best with one another, and so that's what was in me. I wasn't feeling well to begin with, but then that situation happened, and I didn't want to come not representing the way I know I'm supposed to be, and I know I can. Yeshua before you all, my happy-go-lucky person that I'm always, happy person that I always am, the bubbly side. And so, yeah, that happened. So my idea of wanting to bring something before Father, that thought remained there. I left it at the altar with them. But I was waiting until my husband and I, reconciled, and it did. So we're all good. That's what is beautiful of having the Word, to help us and to show us how we are to be, as kingdom citizens, or how we're supposed to be as children of Jehovah, how we're supposed to be, his bride, so to speak, his ecclesia, his called out ones, his his um, his gathering, his church, and so yeah, you learn exactly what you're supposed to be, and this is why it's important that we all need Father in our lives. We need to know that we have to get back to what He has asked, expects out of all of us, in order to be able to get that kingdom citizenship, when it comes down to Judgment Day. For doing exactly what it is that His Son came to demonstrate before us, and to reflect His Son before Him. And so it's really been a beautiful thing in my life to have Father helping me and guiding me through life. Because honestly, with the situation of where me and my husband have come from, in our immature stages, beginnings of marriage, honestly, one could be just waiting that our time for divorce was already, should have happened. And sadly, some, you know, kind of hoped it would happen. And that's the sad part. But yeah, we'll go there. But Father, His Word, that's what helps you. That everybody doesn't understand that the situations that they're facing could all be resolved if we get back to doing this. And this is why I'm trying to put myself out there to show everybody what has helped me, what has changed me. Because there was a lot of things that, growing up, I didn't have this connection to, our Father in heaven that we pray to, that Messiah has shown us how to pray to, our Father who art in heaven. I didn't have that true on connection. I just had a belief of Him, but I didn't know how to serve a God. I didn't know how to really serve Him the way we see so many traditions demonstrate how they worship their gods. I didn't have that type of commitment like I do today. And so, yeah, I'm just hoping that, more people come to that realization. So this way they can see that He is a God of miracles, and He helps and He makes things right. And I hope one day that my family will come to see what I have been putting, out here, and be open, showing my obedience, and that they can see, why the certain things that they are yet to come to know, and why they, they weren't willing to see what I was trying to say, that it wasn't just for nothing. I'm hoping that they get to that place, and that many of them can see, she did change. And some of them, I'm hoping, those that I've, I erred towards, that they'll come to a place of forgiveness, they'll see, the new person that I finally turned out to be, and that they'll get to that place themselves with Father. Because all of us have done, crazy, dumb things in life. And sadly, some of us still continue just because the relationship is not there yet. So I stay hopeful. I do. I stay hopeful. But anyways, all that, I just wanted to share as to why it took me a while to go about bringing this study from the last one that I did, which was, I think, 17 and 18. And so today we're going to get into 19. But before I get there, let us read, and then I'll put the 1 hour mark. I know a lot of, just like children, they have short attention spans, but we're still children in the eyes of Father, and adults are no different. We can have a little bit longer, but still, the attention span is not as more than children. It's still short. Okay. Father Jehovah, I come before you, giving you praise and thanks today, Father, for helping me learn from my mistakes. That's what it is, to just look at certain things and not to cry over spilt milk, but rather, just clean it up, learn from it, and move forward. That's what we got to do. And so that's what I'm trying to to look at all of my little imperfections and see that, I'm still trying to grow in certain things that never were an interest to me to begin with. And I'm trying my best to step forward and learn things I never thought to do, nor really cared to think on doing, but this is my best efforts before you, Father, and to just do it in the raw. This is just who I am, and I'm not embarrassed to be me in front of anybody. None of us should be, because all of us, we gotta have that childlike mind within us, that we're always growing, we're always learning. We have not shown up yet. You're always teaching us on a daily, and we should always look for those moments to say, I learned now something new. Even through the errors of probably practicing for a little bit of time now, but still mistakes happen. But I still thank you, Abba, because I'll get it eventually. But Abba, I ask that you help us in what we learn with you tonight. As we read, you know, what it is through the examples of those that were with you beforehand. So this way we glean what it is that pleases you. So we're always in right standing, and we always gain your blessings. So just be with us as we read on. And I thank you, Abba. I thank you, and touch many more. Go out and test hearts and see who's ready and willing to give themselves over to wanting more from you. So this way you can start unveiling eyes, and uncovering ears. So this way many more can come to truth, Abba. And that's what we're in hopes for. In Yeshua's name, Abba, we love you. Amen. Okay, so here we go, the 1 hour mark. And I forgot to tell Father to help me to remember. Abba, you're hearing me still. Help me to remember all that I've already shared since the recording of yesterday. So this way it could just be, one video before everybody, and everything just gets recalled, and everything that I had thought afterwards also gets remembered in this way. We have all of chapter 19 fully, understood by my way of looking at you anyway. Okay, sorry, just trying to get my book. Here we go. All right, you want to mark on? Okay, so like always, I always recap, and last time I did cover 17 and 18, and we did see the covenant of circumcision. We did see the promise of Isaac mentioned. We did see Abraham's 3 visitors, and then we did see the judgment will come to Sodom. And then we got into, if you can recall, we did go a little bit into 19, but we didn't finish it off just because, our 1 hour mark finished. So that one today we'll be seeing the title for it is Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But during our recap, we got to, in a sense, chuckle and then giggle with Abraham and Sarah, because they got, told that they were going to have the promised child that was mentioned, a long time ago, before they came to their own, their own will of making it happen, and like I said, to me, from what I've read through the word, is that Father he's he waits to give us certain things, and a lot of it's to show us that he does the impossible, and if we just wait patiently, and it comes by those surprises, and we did get to see where we get to see where is it? Where it looks like Messiah said in verse 14 of chapter 18, okay, and this is in Genesis 18:14, is the word impossible with God, okay, because remember, Abraham and Sarah were both like, how can this even be? Like Abraham, he was just like, we're both old, and how is that going to come about? And she was just, it's said of her that her time, her menstruation stopped, something that is the key element for, reproduction to happen, and it wasn't there anymore. But Father does things to show that He is in control of everything, because it looks like what we have been, spoken to or made to believe, whether it's by doctor's visits or any other type of social uh, helper, some type of person out there that's helped to convince that certain things don't happen, after some time or whatever. But Father ends up still showing that He is the God of the impossible. He does things to make things happen. And so we did get to see that. And then we got to see where Abraham meets, to me, Messiah and the angel, the other two angels. And the only reason why I feel it is Messiah Yeshua is because when we get into the New Testament, there's a thing where he's talking to, I think, the Pharisees, from the religious leaders, and he was just saying, like, Abraham got to see me, and they end up telling him, like, you're not even old enough. That was way back when, but it associates to that. And so here we see, I feel Abraham did get to meet Messiah ahead of time. And so we got to see that, and then we get to see where how Abraham felt about the situation, what was told to him was going to happen to Sodom and Gomorrah. And we get to see where he's like, sad about the situation or worried about it, because, like, honestly, you don't want to know about destruction happening to people. You want to hope for the better, but sadly, like I said, when I've shown it before, Father just, like, when he's hurt enough or when he's had enough and he's come to check, we can see that angels do walk around us. They come to check, the cries reach up to heaven of how wickedness is just grown, and it's just at its point of no return anymore, of being, righteous. It's not even wanting to obey anymore. It's not, people have lost control. And so that's where we get to see where Abraham's just like, and he knows his nephew's over there. That's where his nephew picked to live. And so, but you can see where even Yehovah, when he hears you, or Yeshua, when he hears you, you can see that you're hoping that they won't do something. They're willing to hear that and put it into consideration. And so he did. He was mindful to Abraham's heart, and what he was like, he got it down to a small number of, if there was just this many believers, would you destroy the whole place on the accounts of them, And so they're like, no, if we find that many, we'll let it remain. My thinking is, because of the fact that I look at it like today, where some of us that have come to knowing this truth, if many just keep on trying to work, with those in the region or those in the area, um, you touch one person and you get them to understand the truth, then that person will now have the heart to go, and it starts to spread. So I guess that's more or less where his heart could have been. It's just a thought. But that's more or less how I kind of like hope on, where we feel so small, all of us that are doing this, but we're hoping that one more will listen, and then that person will go and spread it, and then, you know, it can change the world. That's what we're always hoping on. But sadly, there's always the wicked one, and those that aren't willing to let go of darkness. That's the sad part, just because you know what's the end result of it. But anyways, okay, so that's more or less the recap that I recall of sharing from yesterday. Anyways, and then, okay, so now we're going into chapter 19, and when reading a little bit from last time, it does seem that Lot recognizes these men kind of too. Lot, he recognizes them. So to me, it's like, what do the angels look like? I mean, for Abraham to kind of seem like he knew who he was, eating with, or that he was wanting to feed, and Lot having the same kind of like, desire to have these men come to his house, it seems like they knew exactly who it was that they were speaking to. That's just the thought there. But I don't know. But it just looks like it. And so we do know that Lot was raised by Abraham. He's Lot's. Lot is Abraham's nephew. Okay, so being raised by his uncle, you take on more like an adopted feel, or there's that adoption. You kind of look at your uncle now like your dad, and he's going to raise you like a father figure. So Abraham, raising him in a sense like a son, he gave him truth. He told him truth. Just the same as what I believe he did with Ishmael, the same thing. That's why the angel had Hagar go back. And so this way that Ishmael could also get circumcised and, be taught the ways of Father, because like they said, your descendants are going to be as much as the stars. And so Ishmael's one of them. I look at Lot as another one. And so he was raised by his uncle, and so he knows this stuff, and so therefore I kind of feel that's why he knew that these were angels. Who knows? Who knows if maybe the angels visited them, for them to recognize them. These are just thoughts, random thoughts whenever I've read these things before. Okay, so chapter 19, we're finally there. Okay, like I said, the title, Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The two angels came to Sodom at evening. Lot, okay, and this is at evening, okay, at evening. So the sun was already going down, or was down. Lot was seated beside the gate of Sodom. When he saw them, Lot rose up to meet them and bowed with his face to the earth. And he said, "Look, lords, turn aside to the house of your servant and lodge there, and wash your feet. And when you rise early, you can depart to your journey." Okay, so lodge there. So he knew it was evening, so he's like, go and rest yourselves. He is offering up his home. They said, "No, rather we will lodge in the street, and he pressured them, and they turned aside to him and entered into his house. And see, there's I mentioned this in the other video, but there's that word, he pressured them. I feel like if I would have known, if I know angels, I wouldn't want them to pass my house. I would want to bless them just the same, and talk with them, and hey, how's heaven like, or how's heaven going, just something like that. If I knew, if I knew it, but I know we entertain them unawares, so they don't really expose much of what's happening up there, I guess. But anyways, that's just random thought. Okay, and so he pressured them, and they turned aside to him and entered into his house. And he made them a drink and baked them unleavened loaves. Okay, so right here where it says unleavened loaves, in the last recording, I stopped right here as well. And because I'm learning, I have come to learn about Father's feasts, that those are commanded feasts that we're supposed to do with him. Because Father has his own, holy days, things to observe, things to, have celebrations with our own God. The world has many other types of man-made traditional celebrations, and they try to attach it to God. They cherry pick verses, and they say that this is in remembrance to Father, and this is why we do what we do, or this is in honor of his son, stuff like that. But scripturally, they're not. Until you realize that, they're just not. And so I've come to know certain feasts. So now when I know of these feasts, when I read a certain part, it makes me wonder, is that attached to this one holy day, this one whole celebration? Was it in celebration at the moment? So here he made them a drink, and he baked them unleavened loaves. And then of course probably it has nothing to do with it all at the same time, just because we read right there in the beginning that it was evening, and so it's late, and sometimes bread takes a while to rise if you're going to put yeast in it or have it rise from what's in the air, so it takes a moment, and so he probably just wanted to do something quick, and so flatbread is the fastest. So that's another thought. But when I read certain parts, it makes me wonder, was that the time of the feast, or or what could it be? But that's another thought, that maybe it was just because it's faster, and so that he can feed them before they go to sleep. Okay, and they ate before they fell asleep. There we go. And then it wouldn't be so heavy. And the men of the city, the Sodomites, surrounded the house, young and old, the whole people together. And they kept calling Lot and saying to him, "Where are the men who came in with you tonight? Bring them out to us, so we can be with them." Lot came out to them, and he closed the door after him. He said to them, "No way, brothers, don't act wickedly." Okay, so he already knows what this wicked deed they want to do, because I know it's not going to state it that they wanted to have relations with them, in the, there it says men, these men, Let me see here. I guess all the people, I guess the whole people together, young and old. But it says the men of the city. So it could just be all the people, starting at verse 4, and the men of the city. So I'm taking that just the men, or if it's meaning men, like all men and women. But here, when you keep reading, it says the whole people together, young and old. So it could have been all of them. But they wanted the angels to be, to come out of his house so that they could bring them out to us so we can be with them. Okay. And so for Lot to say, no, don't act wickedly, that lets me know that it wasn't in the sense that they wanted to just be around them, bring them out so we too can be with them, in that type of light, so we can enjoy their presence as well. It doesn't seem like that because of the way Lot is stating it. Don't act wickedly. So we have that there. Verse 8, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. So there we go. We have, more confirmation to that type of thought of what it is that they wanted to do with these angels. Because here he was offering his daughters to these men. And like I said last time when I was finishing out the last chapter 17 and 18, it made me wonder, like, why why would a father pass up his daughters just like that? That just seems no. But to me, because like I said, because he knew these were angels, and what they could do, supernaturally, they have abilities. It's like he was trying to save these people, these men, or men and women, I guess, however to look at it, um, from themselves, from something happening to them, that he was just like, here, take my daughters, do what you got to do, but do not go after these angels. Like, so it kind of seemed like that, even though it's sad, but sometimes you just put yourself forward, um, to help the situation if you can, sacrificing something, to appease, the situation, even though it's the hardest thing that there is. So we have that. Uh, I have that to look at. It's like I said, it's all who knows kind of thing, but it's just a thought. Okay, so once again, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. I will bring them out to you, and you may use them as you want. It's pretty sad. Only don't do anything unfair to these men, because they entered under the roof of my beams. They said, step aside from there. You came here to dwell. Did you come also to pass judgment? Now then, we will hurt you more than them. And so now we can see where this is, well, I can see. This is where I kind of feel like the people really haven't really accepted Lot. That's how I take it when I read it. For them to throw at him, like, you're the one that came here to live. You're not native born. You're not from here, and now you're trying to pass judgment. Like, who are you to tell us, anything? You're not from here. Like, You came here to dwell. Did you come also to pass judgment? That's just how I take it. And now they're like, now we're gonna hurt you even more than them. Don't you bring that, that type of rebuke here, And I can't recall more or less what I was talking on that from the last video. If I had anything to really add more to like our own situations, like, well, I don't know. No, I don't think I really spoke on that because, I mean, don't get me wrong, none of us really can really relate to, unless you moved somewhere, possibly. But those that have come to Torah, those that have come to knowing Father's laws, we feel outcasted when we finally start telling, our local friends and family members of the truth, and now they're like, we feel rejected. But that's not the same as, going and living somewhere that you've never been there before, and being, still rejected in that manner. It's kind of a different thing. Yeshua talks on those that aren't accepted in their own hometown. A prophet is not accepted in his own hometown. So he talks about that, and that's a different situation, comparison to what Lot is dealing with, hearing this people talk about. It's kind of similar to, I'd have to say Moses' situation slightly, if I'm thinking on it. When he ended up killing an Egyptian, I think he was kind of told something. But still, he was rejected by his own people, not the Egyptians. Yeah, so I really don't think that's relatable. I don't know where my headspace is going with that one. But yeah, this one is where Lot it looks like he was just, at this moment, he could see he was not accepted any longer. And knowing how long these people probably had this inside to tell him that it just came out, the heart speaks. It reveals something that's probably been there that whole time. So now he's hearing it, maybe he's always discerned it, who knows? Many different types of thoughts that can be thought on here. And now he's just seeing it, or they just at that moment didn't accept him any longer because he rebuked them. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, and they kept pressuring the man, Lot, very much, and they approached to break through the door. Okay, so now they're wanting to break open his house I just said. But the men, okay, this is talking about the angels, but the men stretched out their hands and pulled Lot to themselves back into the house, and they closed the door of the house. Okay, so we can see that they could hear what's going on, and they, because we see that it had to have woken them up because they did fall asleep. We did see that in verse 3. But now they had enough. They heard it and pulled Lot in. They struck the men who were at the door of the house with blindness, both great and small. And they were paralyzed as they were looking for the door. See, that's what Lot was trying to help protect them from. He's like, you knew what these men were capable of. That's how I look at it, as if he really knew that these were angels. Just imagine, you know, being struck with blindness, something you've never experienced before, how crippling that would be, going around waving your hands and trying to hold on to things. It's just like, wow, what did that feel like for them, you know? Hmm. Let's see here. Sorry, I moved my finger and lost my place. There we go. Verse 12. The men said to Lot, do you have anyone here, sons-in-law or sons or daughters, or if you have anyone else in the city, lead them out of this place, because we are destroying this place, because their outcry has risen before Jehovah, and Jehovah sent us to wipe it out. Okay, and so I know I said this the last time in when I read 17 and 18, and I had mentioned that there is that one verse where it says, that our spirit groans, things that we don't understand. And that's how I kind of feel like this word got out to Father, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so being the creator is just like any other artist. An artist will put his name in the back of the painting, or he'll put it, somewhere hidden in possibly even in the photo itself, his signature. And so I look at that kind of the same thing with Father's Day. We all have like a his signature on us, and our spirit, what he put in us, to me is what, in a sense rats us out. So there's moments where sometimes when you feel like anxious over something, or you feel like crying for no reason and you're wondering why, that could be something that's letting Father know that, something can be felt here, something is happening in your spirit within. You just can't put your finger on it. You're just like, what is this? So I kind of feel like that's how the outcry reached to heaven. And also because of the fact that, like I said, Lot was raised by Abraham. So who knows how much he interceded for the people, before Father, of what he was seeing there. I mean, so much so for him to even offer his daughters to them to try to help them out, because he knew that these angels could do something to them. Lets me know that could also be the fact that he was interceding for the people there. And that's why that cry out reached it. That's just my thoughts on that one. Let me get to that one piece real quick, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about, what goes through my head anyways by it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Paul he's the one that states it to the Romans, where it says, and this is through the New International Version, in the same way the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray, for the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And we have the English Standard Version. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, For we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And, who dwells within us if it's not Father and His Son? Messiah says that He is in His Father and His Father is in Him, and that He is in us. So that's how I look at it. That this outcry, stuff that we're seeing, and we're just like, So, yeah. Verse 14, let's carry on. Lot came out and spoke to his son-in-law, who had taken his daughters, and said, get up and leave this place, because the Lord is wiping out the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was kidding. When I came to thinking on this portion right here, last recording, it made me wonder about the characteristic or the personality that Lot might have or might have had, or I don't know how to look at it, or is, what his personality was, for his sons-in-law to just think that he was kidding. Was he too much of a playful father-in-law? Did always cracking jokes to where they never really took him serious, or he always had these this playful side that you just never knew if he was kidding or not, to why they didn't take his words serious. I mean, who knows how devoted he was as a minister. Did he have, even ministers, we're all human, was he like, did he struggle some in always upholding a more serious relationship with Father? Sometimes you have that to still work out in your own connection, your own relationship, as a minister, to where they didn't really take him so serious. Now, when he wants to be serious on a moment, they really didn't take him serious. There's these thoughts that go to my mind on it. And so it made me think of uncles that I had. Some of them have passed. But my uncles, they could be super playful, very, very playful, and you don't know when they're being serious, because most of the time that you've been with them, there's always a joke behind it. And sometimes they'll have these serious faces where it's like, are you kidding me right now? And it's not until for a moment that they'll finally admit that no, that was just a joke, kind of thing. But that kind of makes me wonder about Lot's personality, that his sons-in-law were like, I'm just a kidder, I don't know. It's just a thought there for his sons not to take him serious. Why didn't his sons-in-law? But granted, I mean, honestly, you can be still a serious person and still try to bring warning, just like what we do today, that something is here, something's approaching right now, and still, because hardened hearts, or they don't care to listen to you, that's your belief, not mine. Maybe that's your event that's happening, but not to me. Where people still don't take you serious regardless, But here it's using the word kidding, and so it makes me wonder, more or less, that what was his personality like for them to think that he was kidding, Yeah, it's one thing for some to just reject you just because they don't believe what you've told them. So they just reject it. But for it to, you know, point out that they thought he was kidding, what kind of a personality did he have? Uh, but anyways, in verse 15, when early morning came, the angels kept urging Lot, saying, "Get up and take your wife and your 2 daughters that you have, and get out, so you are not destroyed by the lawless acts of the city." And they were troubled, and the angels constrained their hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his daughters, when the Lord spared him. And this happened when they led them outside. They also said, okay, so they took them by the hands and pulled them, get out of here. Okay, so now that they're outside, they said to them, by all means, save your own lives. Don't look around to what is behind you, and don't stop in any of the surrounding country. Escape to the mountain so that you will not be overtaken. Okay, so this now is when early morning came. Okay, so did all this situation, happen so much, through the whole night? Like this whole incident was like an uproar, through the whole night, and now we're just seeing that daybreak is here. It's or early morning, and now they're rushing them out. Or did through the night was he trying to reason with certain people? Of course, we just see it's just the sons-in-law, but they did give him permission to go and I guess try to help however many he wished to do. But of course, we just read about the sons-in-law, but that he did get permission, because they said if you have anyone else in the city, that was what the angels had spoke. But now we see, now it's daylight, early morning, and so, and the only reason why I'm pointing that out is because the next portion that we read, it made me wonder why couldn't he have gone to the mountain? But yeah, we're gonna get there. Okay, so anyways, I thought to just put that there. By all means, save your lives. Don't look around to what is behind you, and don't stop in any of the surrounding country. Escape to the mountains so that you will not be overtaken. Lot said to them, I pray, Lord, since your servant found mercy before you, and you increased your righteousness, which you are doing regarding me, so that my soul might live. But I won't be able to come safe to the mountain. Let not the evils overtake me, and I die. Look, this city is close for me to flee there for refuge, and it is small. I will be saved there. Is it not small? And my soul will live because of you. Okay, so now we see that Lot is asking for permission. Okay, and maybe he just fears going to a mountain. I'm unsure as to why he's not wanting to heed the angel's, direction, of what he's telling him to do. But instead, he's like asking permission that if he can just go to this little small town instead. And when I read it, I thought it was due to the fact that, because earlier when we read that it was evening, and that the angels had fallen asleep after they ate, so it was night. then it made me wonder. I didn't catch that morning part. So it made me wonder, well, did he not want to go to the mountain because he was afraid, and because of course he was telling them, let not evil, how did he say it? Hold on. Let not the evils overtake me. So like worried about the animals, you know, or whatever was going to happen to that city, because he's asking instead to go to this one place instead. And that's more or less what it is. But I always wondered, was it because it was just night and he was worried about animals that he was going to, have to run for his life if he's having to go to this one mountain. But anyways, we do see that he's asking for permission there. And he said to him, okay, so the angel responds, look, I have honored your face, and at this word to not overturn the city about which you spoke. Okay, so I guess the angel's like, look, I won't do nothing even to that city. That's what it looks like. I have honored your face, and at this word to not overturn the city about which you spoke. Or to like disapprove, I guess, or I won't overturn it, like I won't say no to it. That he wants to go to. So hurry to be saved there, for I won't be able to do anything until you arrive there. Because of this, the name of that city is called Zor. The sun came out upon the earth, and Lot entered into Zor. Okay. So this could be on the dawning of the day that he was already going. So it's not totally morning. I mean it was approaching, because now the sun finally came out upon the earth that he entered into the city. So they, twilight of that hour was happening, that daylight hour, where I guess the sun was on the verge, you could see it, but it wasn't totally there. But he finally reached that city when the sun was out to be seen. And the Lord rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. For the Lord out of the heavens, from the Lord out of the heavens, and he toppled these cities, those in which Lot resided, and all the surrounding region, all those who dwelt in the cities, and everything that sprang forth from the earth. And his wife looked and at what was behind. Remember the instruction of the angel, do not look behind. And so she did just that. And his wife looked at what was behind, and she became a pillar of salt. So when Father tells you to do something, or if he even sends his messengers to you, because they're his helpers, they work for him, you have to obey the instructions fully. That's why we have to do our best to really look at everything that's being said in Father's words and what Messiah says. Those are very important pieces, because if not, there's consequence to it. You have to really pay attention to what's stated. Abraham made an early start in the morning to the place where he had stood opposite the Lord. And he looked at the face of Sodom and Gomorrah, and at the face of the neighboring land, and he watched it, and look, a flame was going up from the earth like smoke from a furnace. And this happened when the Lord destroyed all the cities of the surrounding country. Jehovah remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the destruction, while the Lord toppled the cities that Lot lived in. Okay, so as that was taking place, that Abraham was seeing this fire, can you just imagine what was going through his mind? He probably even thought that Lot was no more, and probably didn't even know that Lot had been saved. But it's mentioned here that Father did remember Abraham, and that is exactly why Lot got saved due to his uncle. And much thought came to me yesterday on this, and this is where I thought of stuff to share afterwards. And this makes me wonder if Abraham was able to see this flaming smoke, from the first start, it's like he can see Sodom and Gomorrah from the beginning anyways, because that's where, him and Messiah were talking. That's how I think of it, Messiah. And so he can see at a distance Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not like it's probably far, but he can still see it. And because he can see the smoke from there as well, it makes me wonder, why didn't Lot ask to go back home? It makes me wonder, why didn't he ask the angel, instead of me going to the mountain, and instead of that little city, why didn't he say, can I venture back to my uncle? It makes me wonder. And then, of course, it kind of, makes me think of family members that when things have happened good for them, and they don't really have a connection with God, you tend to wonder, you have a praying relative on the side, someone is interceding for you, and due to Abraham's faithfulness, look at what happened to Lot. Here, you got an answered prayer by a family member. Did he not want to go? Because as it is, his uncle rescued him the first time. Remember when we read where he got taken captive? Who knows what was stated there? And who knows if his uncle really didn't want them to part ways, but due to their herdsmen, they were, having issues. And I would have to go back, but makes me wonder, was Abraham the one that told him, look, our families are just getting too big, and or what came of that? What made them separate so far from each other? But did he not think that Lot would go too far from where he was at? Did he want him to come back? But it makes me wonder, why didn't he go back? Was he wondering, like, his uncle would say, like, I told you so, like, this whole time, where family members are trying to get you to see, like, you're more safe with being home, where there's accountability, yes, there is responsibility, but we, stay devoted. It just makes me wonder why he didn't go back home and that prayers happened, in a sense, got answered in Lot's position because of Abraham, trying to ask Father to spare that place, but he did it for Abraham. He saved Lot and his family. I don't know, there's just much thoughts that came to me with that whole situation when I read it. As to why Lot wanted to leave Abraham. That's where that point when I was just mentioning that, when the herdsman had a quarrel, was that Lot's way of wanting to leave, or had he been distancing himself and desiring, his own place now, or is it just due to the fact that both families were just getting too big for the space that was needed, what belonged to Lot and what belonged to Abraham. So much thoughts that can go with it. And so he wanted it, to go to Sodom and Gomorrah because it was the furthest away from his uncle. Just makes me wonder. But anyways, he didn't go back to Uncle Abraham. Verse 30. Now this talks on Lot's incestuous daughters, okay? And Lot went out from Zoar and settled in the mountain, and his 2 daughters were with him, because he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. Okay, so now we see that they didn't stay long in this little city. I guess it was just for time being that he just didn't feel to go to the mountain. But we do see that he ends up at the mountain where I guess the angel told him to go. So could it have been 2 thoughts here? Did he not want to be in the city because of the fact that he saw how the people of Sodom and Gomorrah did not really accept him, really? He was still an outsider that just dwelled there. They emphasized that, they threw that out at him. And now he's like, if I stay in this city, I'm just going to be told the same thing. I'm not truly a native born here. I'm feeling like an outcast, and then they just throw it at me. Or did he go to the mountain being afraid to dwell in Zoar because, of what he just saw, he witnessed, being in a place like the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and now that just brought some trauma to him. He doesn't want to be around people, and now he's like, I do need to get away from here, just in case these people, put me in another situation. Could that be it? I guess I have a third one. Or could it be that, he was afraid that if he didn't listen to the angel himself, when the angel first told him get to that mountain, because he knows that his wife turned around and didn't do one of the instructions that the angel said, she became a pillar of salt, and he's like, if I don't get to that mountain, what's going to happen to me? Could it be, see, all these thoughts go to my head, oh, he finally listened. That's all I know, is that he finally listened. He got to the mountain. He left Zoar. Okay, and he lived in the cave, he and his 2 daughters with him. The older daughter said to the younger one, our father is old, and there is no one on earth who will go in to us, as is proper in all the earth. So come on, Let us give our father wine to drink, and let's sleep with him, and let's raise up offspring from our father." They gave their father wine to drink that night, and the older one went in and slept with her father that night. And he did not know when she slept and got up. It happened on the next day, and the older daughter said to the younger one, "Look, yesterday slept with our father. Let's give him wine to drink tonight, and go in and sleep with him, and let's raise up offspring from our father." That night also they gave their father wine to drink, and the younger daughter went in and laid with her father. And he didn't know when she lay down and got up. And the two daughters of Lot conceived by their father. And the older daughter bore a son and called his name Moab, saying, "From my father. He is the father of the Moabite until the present day." The younger also bore a son and called his name Ammon, the son of my race. That's what his name means. He is the father of the Ammonites until the present day. There's a bunch to say here, and my timer is about to go off. We're only basically a minute and a couple seconds out, but we're going to end here, of course, but I'm going to end with much of my thoughts on it, because I still remember the first time when I read the word as a whole many years back, and I got to that part, I was just like, what in the world? And see, and I didn't really come to the understanding of Ham's situation, of him possibly sleeping, or knowing. I feel more confident now, knowing what I know now, that he slept with his mom, and that is why his dad, Noah, cursed the grandson, Canaan. And of course, my husband did a teaching on that, and he kind of pointed that out and made it like, oh, okay, I see how that is a thing, that it is so, because of what you read in the Leviticus when you get to the laws, and it talks about uncovering your father's nakedness, and that's the father talking about incest. Don't sleep with your father's there's the timer. Don't sleep with your father's wife, your mom. And so, but I didn't take it then. I didn't take it like that when I first read the Bible for the first time. I thought Ham did something with his dad, because of the fact that whatever he saw, or whatever possibly, hopefully he didn't engage, but who knows. I know it says that Noah and his sons were righteous, but I don't know if there was something screwy with one of them. I mean, we see the evidence of something that occurred with Ham to begin with. So who knows what he was dealing with, seeing how wicked the people had gotten before they, became flooded. And so, but when I read that, I always associated Ham having done something with his dad, Noah. So when I read this a while back for the first time, I was like, oh my God, who wants to sleep with their dad? They just, what? And then, of course, now we can see that it is something like their atmosphere of what they seen. These girls came from a place of Sodom and Gomorrah, and whatever occurred there. And so now we see that there's something within them just because I always like when I read it, I was just like, why didn't they go to that one city that they first, asked to go to, and find a partner, find a partner there, and there you go. They didn't have to go that route with their dad. Or, like I said, when I've thought on, like, why didn't they return back home with Abraham? They could have had, you know, uh, they could have had someone of their, a relative, um, a relative race, their, their, their family, if they wanted to keep it in the family, they could have went to Uncle Abraham, but they didn't. It makes me wonder, or because of the fact at the same time was um, Lot overprotective, and probably dealing with a lot of issues, traumatic. He just witnessed all these people, and who knows what he was hearing, um, of an outcry, and then having seen his wife turn, into this pillar of salt. It could be trauma, you can just imagine. So maybe he didn't allow the girls to go to that city unless he was with them, and he probably didn't want to go. Um, who knows? Who knows? But it makes me wonder, because they lived in a cave, like, where did they get their food source? Did they go to this city at all? And if they did, they could have found a spouse there. Or if maybe maybe Lot taught them how to be hunters. Maybe they were hunters, and that's why he didn't let them go. So there's just all these thoughts that come to my mind in this situation as to like how it could have been helped. And then, of course, just like we saw with Ham's situation, Noah got drunk, and therefore that bad deed happened. Here we see again, this is why over drinking is not a good thing. And this is why Father in the law speaks, do not. You can have drink in his presence. You can enjoy it. But you gotta have your limit, You can't become a drunkard. And so here we see that same situation. They made him drunk and lose himself. And then what ended up coming to my mind yesterday when I recorded myself reading this, like I said, when I read this a long time ago, I thought, who would ever really think about wanting to sleep with their parent? Like, really, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you read in the laws later as I finally got to understanding about incest, but I was always like, never known of stuff like that. Like, but don't get me wrong, Father does give certain permissions of who you can have as a relative. I just never have thought of something on that, like, what, that happens? Like, that's what went through my mind when I read these things and in the laws, and like, really, you really had it that way, right? And don't get me wrong, you tend to wonder about where, Cain had his wife, and Seth, and how all that comes to be, and of course it's like, okay, well, they're the first family, and so a lot of things go through your mind on a lot of these things. So you're thinking, well, it does have to, like, people have to come into existence, and that's all you have, and I get it, but I guess I've just never, because I came in, just not knowing anything of that, it just seemed like, wow, that really does exist. But anyways, but but I wondered, like, who would think of that with their father? But then it took me to two movies that it's like, wow, like, even when I saw these two movies a while back when I was younger, one when I was little, younger, and then one as I was adult. But this is how you see where TV programming and movies, can play into feeding you those type of thoughts. And if you're not associated with Father at all, and you don't pay attention to all these things, you could think it's, you know, permissible. And granted, it probably is, because of the fact that due to your state, and your state not having nothing to do with God's law, of course, um, it can be permissible. And so you wouldn't think nothing about those things when movies demonstrate that, hey, it's a possibility, and that can feed into, you know, feed into your spirit when you see it. Well, the two movies that came into mind yesterday was, I should have got the name of the one where Shirley Temple was in it. And I forgot the song that she had. I had a collection of Shirley Temple movies. I was into her as a little girl. I always thought she was a cute little girl, and I loved her curly hair, and I just loved her movies. And so I can't recall the name of it, and I forgot the song that Shirley Temple, she sings it to her dad, but she makes her own lyrics to the song, and she's sitting on his lap. And when she's singing it to her dad in the movie, okay, this became puzzling for me as a child, like, would sing that to their dad. But she ended up saying, uh, daddy, daddy, marry me and let me be your wife. I never understood why what little girl would sing that to her dad. I could not see myself saying those words to my dad. Not to say that my dad's not a, a handsome man, he gave me some of his looks. Uh, he's my mother's, that's my dad. And then another movie that kind of depicts the same situation is, if you can recall, on, I think it's Fireproof, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go and look at that. But in the beginning, the little girl, she ends up telling her mom, "Mommy, I wanna marry Daddy too." And the mom tells her, "No, you can't marry him." And she says, "Why not?" And she's like, "Because he's my husband." So the mom's correcting her there, but it just makes me wonder, like, why do they put those in the movie? But the world is a wicked, a wicked place, and some of the wicked ones, they actually know scripture, but they're banking on you not to know it. And if they can implement it somewhere to try to get the little ones, in wrong thoughts, even adults that don't take this into consideration, for their salvation's sake, uh, it's more likely that if you get drunk, you might have those wicked thoughts coming into your mind, and who knows what you'll do by the action of that. Just saying, I mean, it's a crazy thing. But anyways, yeah, those are the two movies that came to my mind when it came down to thinking, I've seen something similar, and it's like, wow, well, there it is. Those two movies. Okay, and I think that's more or less all that I shared yesterday that I can actually recall. So I really don't think I would need to put both the videos out. It's like, Father, bring those to my mind. Everything that I had stopped at certain points when I discussed it. and then the extras that I had wanted to mention. As far as the laws, also kind of connecting here, I've already kind of mentioned those. I'm trying to think of if anything else is could be said before I actually like close out. But before I go, that was another thing that I did point out was remember the little letters that can help us understand certain things um, a different way, a different way of reading it, or the literal way, or it just enhances us. And so I'm gonna get to those, and this way I get, because I studied them yesterday, I said it yesterday, but this way because I don't think I'm going to put both the videos out. I kind of feel like I've shared everything well from remembrance. But to give you everything, I feel like that's what I want to do. Make sure I always give everything. Okay, so the letter A is found in chapter 19, because that's where we're at, verse 4, and it's by the word old. Okay, and I'm just saying this just in case you do have the Septuagint and you are following along with me. Okay, or that you don't have the Septuagint, because I mean, obviously, if you have the book already, you can read it for yourself. But I'm also putting this out there because just in case you don't, you might have a version and you're following along with me as best as you can. But I'm giving you what I have from mine, and this way it's just extra. Okay, so verse 4, by the word old. And the men of the city, the Sodomites, surrounded the house, young and old. Okay, so that can be said from young man to elder. Okay, that seems more of a respectable way of saying, someone that's more in years, so don't have to tell the elders that they're old. You're young, okay? You're young as you feel. Okay, so to me it just seems a little bit more respectable calling them an elder. Okay, then B. I just had it a minute ago and now I lost it. B. Okay, it's on verse 11, and it's by the word small. They struck the men who were at the door of the house with blindness, both great and small. And so that just means from small to great. They just switched it from small to great. But this one was from great to small. I don't know why it would need to be switched, really. They both did, were wiping out. I mean, oh, not wiping out. They made blind, all of them at the same time. To me, it would seem, but that's just another way of reading it. Okay, the letter C. Let me find it. Okay, it's by the word kidding. Remember when I was telling you that Lot, when he went to go and tell the sons-in-law that the city was about to be wiped out, and they thought he was kidding. So that word is he seemed to jest before his sons-in-law. So, see, jesting might not seem literal, like someone's being truthful on it. Let me see here. Okay, I usually go to just Google dictionary just to see like a joke, a thing said or done for amusement. So they took it like a joke. See, not something like, I just wonder what kind of personality Lot might have had. You know, was he just a jokester, a kidster? I don't know. And that's why they didn't take him serious. How was his walk with before the Almighty in front of them constantly? Yeah, don't get me wrong. Some don't want always like a super serious minister. Sometimes you want to hope that your minister can, you know, um, be comfortable, and relaxed. But then they have to understand they always have to have Father in mind, because then if not, then if they are too loose with their relationship with Father, then when it's time to tell you something serious, you can find yourself throwing it back at them like, well, who are you to say, in a sense? Look at the way you act sometimes yourself. That could happen. Or at the same time, if they're not giving you the example of how to be, yourself, then yeah, you can find yourself wanting to be like your minister because he doesn't take it that serious. So there has to be like I don't know, I can't even say like a 1-to-1 ratio of being laid back and serious at the same time. I don't even know how would that even balance, more more serious than too playful, or just about right, or you just don't want it to be the other way around. But I don't know, the sons-in-law just didn't take him serious. Okay, letter D is by the word lives. Okay, so when the angels said, by all means, save your lives, it could be read, while saving, save your own soul. Okay. Okay, so that could be read that way. Okay, and then on the next page, because that's where also 19 is, this is A and B are pretty easy to be found here because, like I said, I saw these ones yesterday. Well, I saw all of them yesterday, but I know where these ones are at. This is to do with Lot's daughters that named their children. And so the letter A is on verse 37, and it's with the older daughter who bore a son and called his name Moab, saying, from my father. Okay, that's what she's saying. Oh, finally it came to me before I forget it. I don't want to forget it while I'm talking on this issue. It just came to me. Thank you, Abba. When I was thinking on like this whole incest kind of thing, um, I know that when we get into reading more, when we get further into the Word, we will see Father's, kind of his, how would you say, like metaphorical language, how he talks to his chosen people. So sometimes we will see that he calls those his chosen ones can be, his children, his people, his bride, and so some could very easily try to say, well, God shouldn't be mad at incest and people wanting to, they have this desire for their mom and dad. I mean, like, he calls his children one minute and then he calls us his bride. So it's like, what is that? A child wanting to be with God, and he's our father, but yet we're his bride. So there can be a lot of screwy people that just will twist around the things you say, and not see it from a spiritual sense. Father uses things that we associate to. to show us his love on his end and how he views us. So it's metaphorical speeches. He's not telling you to do it in the literal. That's why he has the laws there. But that's what came to my mind yesterday, later, of course, how some could probably look at that and talk down towards Father. But you have to understand a lot of Father's way of using certain terms to reference something, and look at the beauty of how he's saying it, not because it's in the literal. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share earlier. I'm just glad that came to my mind before I finish off here. Okay, so yes, the little letter A is with her naming her son Moab, and the meaning of the name is how she says, from my father. Okay, and it says, the Greek adds the explanation that Hebrew, Moab, okay, the Greek adds the explanation that Hebrew, Moab, means from my father. Okay, so it just gives the extra explanation to the Hebrew of it, the Hebrew meaning. That this is the implicit in Hebrew. Okay, then the letter B is next to the name Ammon, not the meaning of the name, which is said son of my race. It's not next to that, but it's next to the actual name of Ammon. And it says the Greek uses the proper name Ammon, then adds an explanation reflecting the fact that Hebrew Ben Ami means son of my people. Okay, so it just gives that extra piece. It's reflecting where the Hebrew word comes from, Ben Ami. I hope I'm saying these names right. But yeah, and there we have it. What those two names and the explanations of those, and how where it comes from, Hebrew. Okay, so that takes care of our study time. I want to thank Abba because he has brought everything back to remembrance, and actually even a little bit extra as we went along with it. It's like he even showed me a little bit of extra how to look at certain points or stop right there, because it's like, wow, I didn't catch that. Just like earlier I told you I didn't catch, like it said, the morning. And so I was wondering, why couldn't he go to the mountain? Was it and then I thought it was because it was late, because they got there at evening. But no, it was actually morning. He could have got to that mountain. But I'm just glad that, this is how beautiful it is, that you can still go back to reading with Father, and still more comes to your mind, and you can think with him and have that, relationship with him, with your thoughts upon stuff. It's not a bad thing. That's what that relationship is. But still, when you're going to go and share certain things, understand that certain things are just your own thoughts with him. You got to still stick to scripture. Go and search out the, full-on definitions, because the Bible, the Father does have his own definitions to words. I told you about those extra tools that help you get that full understanding. So this way you're sharing the truth of the matter of what is truly stated. But you can have that relationship point of where you could think on certain things that kind of like you've seen, you've witnessed, and it kind of validates, like that kind of fits this situation. And it might not be too far-fetched, but Father just brings these things to your remembrance, and you're just like, oh, I've seen that before. Or when you see something, you're like, oh, I read that before. So it just all connects. So, but anyways, that is it for our study time of chapter 19. So I hope you all are blessed, and I'm so glad that uh, the recording is there. My face is seen and my voice is heard. And so may you all have a great rest of the week, and I will see you when I come back. So let's pray ourselves. Let's pray ourselves out. Abba Yahweh, I come before you, giving you praise and thanks for helping me to recall everything I spoke yesterday, and even then some, even more came into my thoughts as I sat there to meditate, just to wonder about um, this situation and how it looked, and could have, or was it like this, and possibly, and just these little things that get you to have that relationship, just questioning things. Of course, only you got to see all of this stuff, so, but you just see where our mind goes to certain things, and how sometimes it can be a little bit relatable to what we have visual in our own midst. So, I mean, honestly, makes me wonder about Lot's personality, and it made me think of uncles. Could it be kind of something like that? So, I mean, you just have this beautiful journey where you travel in thoughts with you read exactly what is there, and then we just learn what it is that you are truly stating by it. So, if anything, that's one thing I forgot to mention, but what are we to glean from this with you? From all that we just read right now. All I'm just looking at it is just like things can be done in repeat. We do see what was happening, or what happened to Ham. Kind of still had the same situation with the daughters of Lot, and our surroundings can play an impact to, our possibly are not, our relationship is not totally strong in you, depending on how much we're involved with our surroundings. So we just have those examples to look at. And so in gleaning, I just, what you have told your messengers to give to us to really hear and to listen and obey, that is what we are to do. The angel said, do not look back. The angel said, get to that mountain, and we saw the outcomes, So we just need to look at everything that is being stated and what it is that you're wanting us to take away, and to see what not to be doing. And so, yeah, but that's what I'm seeing, is just to hear you, and who it is that serves you and that comes also to help direct us, So I just thank you, Abba. I thank you for helping me. I pray for everybody else that is walking their journey with you. Help them. You are the comforter. You're always guiding us. May we be pleasing in your sight, Abba, making you smile, seeing that we pass tests, seeing that we give you trust when things are put, on us or around us, to see if we're going to, get upset with you, or, turn away, or whatever, rob us of our joy, that maybe there is no God, those things that can happen. But if we just see that everything is just, it works for our good, to see that we are devoted to you, then you bless us. So may we all keep strong in our relationship with you, doing what pleases you, Abba, so that way all things will go well for us. So I thank you, Abba, and I will see you in the morning. In Yeshua's name, Abba, be with everybody. Amen. All right. All right, beloved family out there. And that's another thing that I had said yesterday. I called you all my beloved. And I do. I want you all to know that you are loved by me. You know, you all are loved by me. And I'm hoping that you guys are doing good. Because sometimes it can be a lonely thing when, you know, you're in a place where all your close friends and family just, they don't get you. They don't get you. They don't want to. It's not that they don't get you. They have material, they have their Bibles, and they refuse to see what it is that you're trying to help them to see because they don't want it. They don't want it. But we just have to learn that we have each other because Messiah said, who are my brothers? You know, who's my mother? Who's my brother? Who's my sister? And those are your family. So just know that I am praying for you. I don't know who you are, but I always put it out there that I'm praying for everybody that is stepping out and getting stronger in their faith, you know, and you're still in prayers. You're included in that. It's just like Messiah, you know, who prayed for us before we even got to this position. Those that believed his disciples and became, you know, got into relationship with him. His prayers even for them. So yes, being prayed for, and you are loved. Keep it going. Do not give up with Father. So you all have a blessed week, and I shall see you again come hopefully Monday, and everything goes well. So anyways, love you all.